All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tricycle's meditation group. I'm Zim Pickens, and I am Tricycle's associate editor and Buddhism public scholar. And I'm pleased to be here again today with Mark Coleman, who's joining us every Monday this month. A few notes before we begin. Today we're in a Zoom meeting, so your video is on. We have disabled the microphones for now, but we'll turn them back on for the Q&A. And this session is being recorded, so if you do ask a question at the end, it will be part of the recording. Our teacher for this month is Mark Coleman. He has trained extensively in Buddhist traditions, both in insight meditation and Dzogchen meditation. He is a senior teacher at Spirit Rock Meditation Center and has taught meditation retreats since 1997. He has also been leading wilderness retreats and is the founder of the organization Awaken the Wild and the author of numerous books. Welcome back, Mark. Great to have you.
I guess I should unmute myself. First lesson in mindfulness and teaching online. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are calling in from. I'm happy to see that some of you are sitting outside, and since this month is oriented towards nature, meditation, integrating Dharma and nature, and seeing how nature can be a profound teacher, resource, and just so many different ways being outside and developing a mindful sensory awareness with the outdoors is just a beautiful, profound support for our well-being and practice. So with that, some of you are outside. I'm aware that some of you are in places and climates where it's still winter or trying to be spring, but not, or raining or snowy or cold or freezing or who knows what. So it was raining for me last week. So I was inside. Today it's sunny. So I'm outside. I'm calling in from Sausalito, which is in North Bay of San Francisco Bay Area. And I'm enjoying listening to the sound of, the morning chorus here. And I will toggle my microphone depending on what's going on, because you might hear some construction or you might hear the sound of birds. So depending on what's going on, I will only afflict you hopefully with the sound of songbirds and not with the sound of construction. But of course, when you're outside in nature, you never know what you're going to get. So practice is learning to meet all of it, whether it's the sound of sirens or the sound of what you'll hear in the background, the Buick's wren mostly, some song sparrows and some warblers at times, and finches. And so last week we explored how being outside with mindfulness is a beautiful and profound support for sensory awareness, for a natural quality of attention, since the animal body, sensory body comes alive when we step outdoors, and there's so much happening in nature. And when I say nature, I mean outdoors, really, because I'm sitting on my deck. It's not like I'm deep in the wilderness here, but I'm exposed to sky and to wind and to sun and to fragrance and to sound and movement. And there's a dynamism that we can feel and experience vividly that we don't have indoors. And so much of that, since mindfulness is a cultivation of awareness and the present moment embodied attention, then being outside is a natural support for that. And I'm hoping that some of you were able to practice outdoors, whether that's sitting or standing or walking. And feel free to comment in the chat, actually, if you were able to, in whatever way, be outside from last week to this week to cultivate some mindfulness, some sensory awareness, and how that was. How was it if you took your meditation practice outside, whatever form of practice? Someone says, does the back porch count? Absolutely. I'm on my front porch. It's outside and look what I can experience from my porch. I come out here for my sunrise meditation every day and taking in expansiveness and spaciousness. So walking around your neighborhood, taking in, you know, the blossoms and the signs of spring. So what I want to specifically explore this week is there's so many different facets of nature practice. And the second theme I want to explore today, last week was just mindful awareness, sensory awareness in nature. This week I want to point to how being outdoors is a beautiful support for the heart and for so many qualities that we may develop on the path, whether that's the Brahma Viharas, the divine abodes the Buddha pointed to, of love, compassion, joy, and equanimity, but all kinds of other wholesome qualities that we can much more easily access, I would say, when we're outdoors. So, for example, I came out onto my deck this morning. I get up early, get up before sunrise. And like most places, most of the time, in the morning, it's very still. And the water was still, the air was still, the sounds were quiet. And so my whole being just drops into stillness because we are so interdependent with the environment. Stillness was arising. As I gaze at the sky and I look at the vastness of the sky, I feel that vastness within. I feel the spaciousness of awareness. And then I'm sitting quietly and I'm looking at the sky, and then the birds start waking up. And I start listening to the Bewick's wren and the crows and the sparrows and the song sparrows and all kinds of other birds. And then I feel delight. I feel like this joy. And I wonder how many for you, when you hear birdsong in the morning, there's something so enchanting about the sound of birds, especially in spring when a lot of migrating birds return. And there's that sense of, oh, the seasons, the rhythms, and these beautiful beings that, for whatever evolutionary reason, delight our soul when we hear them. And so, so what I'm pointing to is to pay attention to what qualities are evoked in you when you're outside, whether it's in your garden, in your favorite woodland, or trail, or meadow, or stream, or beach, or wherever you go to for your nature, sojourn, solace. It's a beautiful line from the poet Mary Oliver. It's called Mindful, coincidentally. And the first few lines of that, she says, every day I see or hear something that more or less kills me with delight, that leaves me like a needle in the haystack of light. It is what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside this soft world with joy and acclamation. A beautiful invitation into presence, right? Every day I see or hear something. Right? When I'm walking around my bedroom, there are not too many things that kill me with delight. But when I go into my garden and I see a new flower that's just, the tulips that are emerging from the winter, and I see this dazzling red leaf, or right now the California poppies, those golden poppies are bursting, and there's the delight. And in another poem, Jack Gilbert, in a poem called A Brief for the Defense, he says, "We can do without pleasure, but not delight. We must risk delight in the ruthless furnace of the world." And I love that invitation because, these times that we're living in are not the easiest. There's a lot of stress, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of suffering. And there's also spring, and there's morning song, and there's flowers emerging, and blossoms blossoming, and trees coming into leaf. And so I think it's essential for our mental health and well-being that we also include beauty, that we include that which elevates and expands the heart, that which brings joy and delight, whether it's looking into, your grandchildren playing in the park, or seeing, I'm looking at these new oak leaves that are shiny and glistening in the sun, and the new buds on the succulent on my deck. And it's like, oh, right, that's an important part of our well-being, important part of, as the Buddha spoke to, cultivating wholesome qualities of mind. Right? And of course, we know there's many ways that we can cultivate unwholesome states of mind, and we can be completely consumed in the negativity bias of media and the news and all of the disasters that are happening. And of course, it's important to stay informed with what's happening, but it's also important for our mental health and our well-being and our practice to also invite wholesome qualities. Think about this as beautiful teaching from Ajahn Chah, where he invites his students to make your mind like a still forest pool. And so, just like this morning, I was making my mind like a still forest pool. So we're putting ourselves in the way of wholesome influences, just like we go to a Sangha, we go to a Dharma teacher, we go to a retreat, because we're putting ourselves in wholesome influences. And so I'd say being outside for the most part, most of the time, is cultivating the wholesomeness. Right? So another quality that I think is beautiful that emerges when we're outside, it's a whole cluster of qualities of, starts with curiosity, starts with awareness actually, and then curiosity. And then we can be just looking at the leaf of a plant, and that can bring us into wonder, or into awe, into mystery. That this leaf has over billions of years, not that particular leaf, but the intelligence of life has learned how to distill and light from the sun, turn it into energy, into sugars, and to grow plants and to feed the forest. I mean, it's wondrous. Or seeing the flight of a bird, or seeing a hummingbird come to your face and wondering how that happens, or the way flowers have an exact insect that's designed just to pollinate that particular flower. Or we go to somewhere with a vista. I'm thinking of the first time I came to this country and I went to the Grand Canyon. I looked over the rim for the first time in the morning, and I thought, oh, this is why the word awesome was created. Awesome. Because it's so vast and so awe-inspiring. Or we might look up at the night sky, or the moon rising, this beautiful full moon we've just been witnessing, and we feel awe. We feel awe at the vastness of life, the mystery of life. And so to think for yourself, what qualities, what wholesome qualities arise for you when you're outside? Maybe it's peacefulness. I know when I first started meditating and I was beginning to marry the qualities of what I felt outside in nature and the qualities that I was discovering in meditation, and I realized, oh, right, those qualities overlap. And the peace that I was discovering through my meditation practice, I could also find sitting at the root of the tree, which is what the Buddha was inviting us to do. So other qualities, and I'm going to talk about this in another week, but the qualities of the heart that bloom into love. Right? How often might you feel love for seeing a deer walk silently through the forest, or seeing a bumblebee nuzzling its way into a flower, or listening to the sound of your favorite bird. When I hear the house finches that come here, it's just a delightful song, I swoon. And so seeing how we can shift our attention, I think I mentioned this last week in the Buddha's instructions, an inquiry, whatever the mind frequently dwells and ponders upon, that becomes the inclination of the heart. Whatever the mind frequently dwells and ponders upon, that becomes the inclination of the mind and heart. And so what is your mind frequently dwelling and pondering upon? And if it's dwelling upon problems and worries and fears, That will be the inclination. But can we also include an inclination to what's wholesome, to what's beautiful, to what's joyful, to what brings us alive, to what makes us feel connected? And so as you meditating today, as you go outside this week, pay attention to what, since we're, and again, I'll talk about this in another week, since everything is dependently arising, when we go outside, what dependently arises within us is co-created by the environment and co-created by what we attend to. So take some moments in the sitting, take some moments in your day. Okay, I'm going to incline my attention to beauty, to growth and regeneration, right? Springtime, the season of possibility. I'm going to incline my attention to space, to vastness. I'm going to incline my attention to the fine sensation of a petal of a flower, like a California poppy, had this beautiful silk quality. And then out of that, what might arise? Joy, delight, wonder, peace, calm, tranquility. Right? A lot of these wholesome qualities we cultivate on the path. Compassion, when we feel the tenderness of life and the struggle of life. I was watching a worm that had gotten partly run over by a mountain bike tire, and it was just struggling, and my heart was just breaking for this little worm, just trying to survive and get off the trail and get back into the soil. So again, it's this integration of the innate quality of mindfulness, awareness. When we go outside, into our gardens, into the forest, by the ocean, feeling into what arises. And then, as my friend Rick Hansen, psychologist, talks about, talks about this aspect of savoring. I call it saturating. And what he's meaning by that is, and I forget the neuropsychology of this, but to give yourself 15 or 20 seconds to be with something that's bringing forth a wholesome quality, like joy, like delight, like beauty, like wonder, to actually breathe it in. So if you see a butterfly, and I was seeing this rare blue butterfly yesterday, it's endangered here, and I was just delighting in its flight. And I just let myself take like a minute to be with it. And part of the mind might be like, oh no, we don't have time for a minute. Got to get on, got to do all these things. Like, no, pause, let it soak in. Like when you see the sunrise or the sunset, it's one of those few times that we do actually give ourselves time to soften, to rest, to bathe. And very important, just to allow that and breathe with it, soak it in. And again, all these things I'm pointing to are really important ways to bring balance to our nervous system that's often so stressed. Yeah. Okay, so let's sit together. So if you're sitting outside, great. If you're sitting beside a window, fantastic. Or a doorway, or a plant, some way that you can orient to nature. And if you're inside or it's dark, or you can just also call to mind a time that you were recently outside, some way that you were being touched by the night sky, by an ancient tree, by an animal, by a plant, by this morning's sunrise, by the morning song. And so wherever you are, maybe just call to mind, especially if nothing's physically present, just call to mind the last time you were outside, which could be even just on your balcony, in your garden, in your neighborhood, and you are touched by something in nature, a blossom, a tree, a leaf, a bird song, a moonrise. And just notice what arises in the heart, mind, as you call that to mind. Not to get busy thinking about it, but just notice if there's any quality that comes forth when you think about a place that you love in nature, or something that's happening right now in your environment. Maybe you're just appreciating the breeze, or the sunlight, the sounds of rain, or birds, wind. And bringing awareness into the body, feeling this body as an expression of earth. You are the earth, part of the earth's moving surface, aware of itself. Sensing this body, this animal body, it's alive with senses, alive with sensation. So feeling your earth body tingling, vibrating, energy moving through your body. Sensation, tingling. Noticing how the body registering touch, the skin touching air, the body touching the ground, the earth, through your feet, through your legs, through your sit bones. Sensing and aware of sensing. And sitting with an inclusive, open awareness. So our attention can be grounded in the body, aware of sensation, contact. And at the same time, including awareness of the soundscape. Sounds appearing and disappearing in awareness. And noticing in the simplicity of sitting and listening, whether there can be that can be a cause for qualities in the heart to arise. Tranquility, delight, curiosity, joy. Not looking for any particular quality, but just seeing what arises in the heart, in the body. Sensing and aware of sensing, hearing and aware of hearing. As the breath naturally moves through the body, breathing, aware of breathing. I'm curious what other phenomena are to be known. As you breathe, sensing the quality of the air, fragrant, moist, dry, warm, cold, reflecting the season, reflecting what's happening in the day. And of course, natural, the thoughts will arise, images, pull the attention, acknowledging those. Also, natural phenomena like birds twittering on the wires, and releasing those thoughts, reorienting to the simplicity of what's here. Sounds and aware of sounds, sensations, aware of sensing, breathing, aware of breathing. And attune to what arises in the heart, sensing how emotions, feelings are felt in the body, and often arising in relationship to environment, to what's here. In these last few minutes of the sitting, noticing what evokes quality of curiosity. Attention follows our interest. Even something as simple as breath. How each inhale, we take in oxygen released from forest, grasslands, plants, oceans. That simple breath connecting us with all photosynthesizing life. And as we draw the practice to a close, noticing any influence of the practice. And as we shift from meditation to post-meditation, it's continuing the same orientation of awareness, curiosity. As you open the eyes, as you perhaps take in the world around you, as you gaze out a window or attune to the light or the sky or green, woods, whatever it is that you tune into, flowers, animals, people. Noticing what arises. There's a part of a poem from Sandra Cisneros, kind of points to a little bit of what we're doing here. And she says, it's called Remedy for Social Overexposure. And I think I'd like to title this Remedy for Social Media Overexposure, or Media Overexposure. Seek out a tree and sit beneath immediately. Remove from ears and tongue all words. Fast from the same. Soak in a tub of seclusion. Rub face with wind. In extreme cases, douse oneself with sky and swab gently with clouds. So this is an invitation to unplug from whatever it is, technology, news, negativity bias. Go outside, rinse your face with wind, or rinse your face with trees, with light, with fragrance of a blossom. Douse oneself with green grass that may be emerging, or crocuses, or returning songbirds. So, the invitation to be outside, attuned to nature, and see how that's influencing and opening the heart. So I'm going to pass back over to Zim, and I think we're going to do some short breakout groups, and then we'll open it up for a discussion.
Thank you, Mark. So yes, we're going to move into some breakout rooms. If you don't wish to participate, then you can leave the Zoom now. But for those who stay, in just a few moments, you'll be invited to a breakout room with 3 participants. We'll have about 10 minutes for this discussion, and then the prompt will welcome us back into the main group. So breakout rooms are short and time is limited, so make sure there's enough room for everyone to have a say and to be able to share some of their perspectives on what we've learned from Mark so far. We'll go ahead into the breakout rooms now.
So specifically, Zim, it's for people to explore about their experience, practice of being in nature, meditation in nature, what we're learning here today and last week, and how that's going for them. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Great. Anything else around that theme of nature and awareness? Great.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks. So any comments, any questions, or feel free to share also in the chat any ways your heart is touched or moved when you're outside. You know, I've been pointing to inclining the attention to nature and see what that evokes in the heart, particularly the expansive qualities. It's not all that arises, but seeing how nature can be a support for the heart. So please, Princeton.
Okay.
Good morning.
I was really wondering, because I like what you mentioned about, that sense of curiosity and sense of wonder for nature. I was wondering, and maybe it's just something only, I can answer, but how do you cultivate that sense of wonder and curiosity for nature?
How do you cultivate that?
Yeah.
Well, I think the main ingredient is awareness and putting yourself in nature's way, right? So, for example, you go outside and the first tree that you come to, it's like imagine you're a biologist or a scientist or something. It's like, and so you're looking at a leaf, right, or a pine needle, or a root, or a bud, or a blossom, and you just give yourself time to savor it and get to know it. Imagine you are having to describe this to someone you know, right? And you're like, okay, so what is this? I've never seen a tree before. What is this thing called tree? Well, let me study it so I get to know it so I can tell you about it. And so you let your attention just become more intimate with it. You know, I mean, we've passed 1,000 trees in our lives. We've looked at 1,000 leaves, but what about this one? And so you just take something that you're drawn to. It could be a stone, could be a leaf, could be a flower, could be a dead insect. Doesn't matter what it is, and just study it, and just look at it. And I would bet that the interest will come about something. Like maybe you come across a flower. To me, everything is amazing in nature. Like, how did this flower, this golden California poppy, come out of this soil, that we call dirt? How did it emerge, and how did it know when to open its petals, and it knows when to close it when it gets too cold? And how does it have a smell? The dirt smells like something, and this flower smells like roses. How does it? So you just kind of just stay present, and then just let yourself see what you're drawn to and hang out with it. And I imagine over time the curiosity will grow.
Sure.
So, and it's also, there's a talk in the tradition about beginner's mind, right? Which is letting go of, oh, I know what a leaf is. Oh, I know what a tree is. I know what an oak tree is. I grew up with them. It's like, well, that might be true, but what about this leaf, or this bark of an oak tree, or this butterfly, or this bird song? And so you imagine you're seeing, feeling, hearing it for the first time. And then just and then just hang out with it. And my experience is that will draw us in. Yeah. So let it come naturally.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Give it a try. Thanks, Princeton. Linnea, if I'm pronouncing that right?
Yes, Linnea. Thank you. Hello, fellow Earthlings.
Hello.
I'd just like to share that my father, a humanistic nature lover, had a saying, and his saying was, "Nature is supernatural enough for me."
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Nature is supernatural enough for me.
Yeah.
And I put in the chat that I love to get out in nature and do a tactile experience, especially going barefoot in the moss or the shore, or touching different leaves and fungus carefully, of course.
Yeah.
That embodied sense that this is me. I'm not in nature. I am nature.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we are. And now they know that when you touch one leaf of a plant, like those plants beside you, you touch that one leaf of that vine, the entire plant registers that experience. Plants don't have brains, but they have a diffuse nervous system, and neurons diffused all over the plant body. So just like that line from John Muir, touch one thing and everything in the universe moves. The same with a plant. So, what I love about what biology and the life sciences are discovering, we're discovering so much about the intelligence and the mystery of the natural world. So beautiful that you're letting yourself use this sense of touch, because it's something, as kids we're told, look, don't touch, or we're told the soil is dirty. And so we've had this removed relationship to the earth. But, one of the practices I like to teach is a meandering practice where it's meandering with sensory awareness. And so you just let yourself meander through a landscape, a woodland, a garden, but you're not just looking at it, but you're touching, you're smelling, you're rubbing, you're tasting if you know it's edible. And so it's a full sensory experience. So I love that you're bringing your full senses to that. So thanks, Linnea. So I'm just looking at the chat here. So once we say nature, we brought it into mind non-nature, how to enjoy one without resisting the other. Yeah, so of course we have, dualistic language that separates objects, or at least English is a dualistic language. There are many languages, and particularly indigenous languages, that aren't so dualistic and don't use nouns in the way that we do. Like in the Hopi tradition, there's no nouns, so a tree is treeing and the sky is skying. When I say nature, really it means everything, but when I'm talking about nature practice, I'm talking about nature as, sorry about the sound, I'm talking about things that aren't fabricated by humans. So, sorry, 1 second. Can you not do the bins yet? So, can you not drag the bins out? Sorry, just trying to keep the noise down here. So everything is nature from that perspective, and yet there's a difference between me looking at, this plastic mouse versus a field mouse that live in my garden. And so from a non-dual perspective, it's all nature. It's all from the earth, because where else could it come from? And yet there's something powerful about being in touch with things that are non-fabricated by human design, that have a particular quality, that's, powerful and helpful. Steve, please.
Yes, thank you. I was going to just add to when you were talking about the experience with the leaf, taking it to an incredibly micro level. You start thinking of the water inside the leaf, and then you start thinking of what makes up the water and the molecules, and you keep taking it down more micro, and it becomes infinitely complex. Just that one little point inside the leaf becomes so infinitely complex. And then you take that infinite complexity and then you look at the world and you say, oh my God, this is just so utterly infinitely complex. It just kind of makes itself dissolve.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's unfathomably mind-blowing, right? Like, I'm sure a lot of you are gardeners, and this is a time for planting seeds or germinating, sowing seeds. And I planted these California poppy seeds in the fall last year, these tiny little seeds. And then just from that, the intelligence of the DNA that's within that seed that knows gravity, even though we don't understand how plants know gravity, but they do. They know roots down, they know shoots up. You tilt a plant over and it will recorrect itself. And as you say, you drill down into any one of those mechanisms, whether it's light-seeking mechanism or the way plants and trees are sharing nutrients with mycelium and this transfer of glucose and minerals, and then you expand that to the quintillion trees that are just in your neighborhood. I mean, the leaves, sorry, and then the cells, and it's just we live in an unfathomable, mysterious, profound universe. And we can know, and that's why I think there's this beautiful marrying right now of science and biology and discovering, the complexity of just a leaf. And then, as you say, you extrapolate that to every living system, to the hairs that grow on beavers, the densest hair of any animal, and the complexity of that, of just growing a hair. So the invitation this week is to, again, go outside, take your meditation, mindfulness practice outside, whether that's formally sitting or standing with trees or walking, meandering. And then just to incline your attention towards beauty and towards that which is uplifting, that brings delight, that brings awe, that brings curiosity, that brings wonder, that brings mystery. And then see what happens. And see how, when you go from the indoors, from your office, from your screens, from your wherever, and go outside, how it's a beautiful balm for the soul, for the heart, for the mind. So thank you again, friends. Lovely to be with you. And thank you, Zim, for hosting, and Tricycle for hosting, and look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks again for joining us, Mark. It's our pleasure. And thanks to everyone else who came today as well. We hope to see you again next Monday at the same time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time on April 21st. Thanks again.